In Scotland, the law recognises hate crimes as motivated by prejudice based on disability, race, religion, sexual orientation and transgender identity. Now, hate crime can happen online, it can happen in person, it could be abusive behaviour, all the way through to serious physical assault on a person. Now, the consequences for the perpetrators of hate crime can be pretty significant. Police will take robust action, you will be investigated and you will face the full force of the justice system. Hate hurts.
Very good one.
Scotland's new hate crime laws were expected to meet a backlash. And here it was on day one. Protesters gathered outside Holyrood, voicing concern with a bill they say stifles free speech and can be exploited by those looking to silence particular groups. Among those angered are the author J.K. Rowling. In a thread on X, formerly known as Twitter, she lists a number of high-profile controversies involving trans women before questioning their gender. Freedom of speech and belief are at the end in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offence under the terms of the new Act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. On a visit to a hospital, the First Minister defended the legislation which he says will help protect marginalised groups.
I'm very proud of the Hate Crime Act. Freedom of expression, for me, ensures that we've got a piece of legislation that will be enacted and implemented in a way that is absolutely balanced and make sure it absolutely protects people in their freedom of expression, but guards people from, as I say, that rising tide of hatred we've seen far too often in our society.
White. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
Police officers have been dealing with hatred for many, many decades and been doing it very sensibly indeed. Let's take the new offences, the stirring up offences that have been the focus of a lot of discourse and discussion. They've been in existence since 1986 in terms of racial stirring up offence of hatred. I believe that the new offences that have been created, they will be policed in again a very similar way, policed sensibly.
This protest has been organised by a relatively fringe group, but those concerns go beyond the margins, provoking debate around not just free speech, but also how the police enforce this new law. Which is why Scotland's Police Federation are worried about its impact.
It is a recipe for disaster and it's a real concern. Every time a new law gets passed, that police officers then have to attend more and more calls. Now, we've got 1,000 less officers at the moment, so it is going to have an impact on policing.
After 3 years of debate, the Scottish Government wanted this to be a landmark piece of legislation, but instead, today could signal the start of even deeper division.
You've said, I've read your recent remarks suggesting that the hate crime laws in Scotland could make Scotland a laughingstock. Would you elaborate on that thought?
Yes. What it is that there's an incentive within this system that has been brought in for people to actually make vexatious complaints, that is, complaints without any real substance, simply because, in a sense, they're hate-based themselves, to take down political opponents or to silence people such as J.K. Rowling, who they see as the enemy. There are perverse incentives involved because even if the police do not consider a crime has been committed, they can then record a non-hate crime incident. And that can then be, a number is given, it's put on file, and the supposed victim of what is not a crime is told all this. But it happens without the person who's accused of the crime but has not committed a crime then being told that they are a hate crime incident. It is absolutely absurd because then activists, very hatefully, ironically, can then go about complaining about everybody trying to force the police to smother them and smother their free speech. So this is going to create more hate, more division in society, rather than actually try and calm people down. And just one other thing, freedom of speech means being able to take hearty words. And that's quite a different thing from inciting violence. Inciting violence should be a crime, but just saying hearty words about, I don't like these people because they have green faces or the wrong religion, that's quite a different thing from violence.
I want to ask you about Scotland. What is happening in Scotland? They've passed a new hate crime bill that will create new offences of stirring up hatred against protected groups, with even conversations that take place in the privacy of homes around the dinner table now under the law. So a person could be charged with a hate crime for something they say during a dinner party. Something to look forward to, Douglas?
Yes, absolutely. Book your tickets to Scotland now, Rita. Amazing thing about this, Rita, is that all of the people who would do this, we have to ask that same question that my late great friend Christopher Hitchens beautifully put in Toronto in 2006, when the Canadian government was pushing through speech laws that would police the speech of Canadians, which is essentially the question is, who would you nominate to be the person in your society so right, so correct, so just, and so good that they could decide what you or I or anyone else is allowed to think and read, and on this occasion, say around our own dinner table? Who's your nominee? Do you have anyone? I don't have anyone, Rita. I could never come up with such a person.
As I think it was President Reagan said, we're from the government. We're here to help.